What's up, guys? We are back with the F2 podcast. I am joined today by Joey Brooks with the Purdue Boilermakers.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Joey,
sir.
good to have you out here, man.
Hey, man, happy to be here. When we got out to Charleston, you were the first person I thought of, or you were one of the first people I thought of. So I'm glad we got to get together.
My man. So Joey and I met each other years ago, probably 2 years ago, in Myrtle Beach when the infamous Drew Hanlon did his pre-draft training here in 2016, and Joey was on board with Pure Sweat that summer, and I linked up with them, and so that's how we connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so from there, tell us a little bit about where you've been, just from 2016.
Yeah. So Drew is a longtime friend of mine. Actually, he and I met while I was playing at Notre Dame, and he was just starting sort of what has turned into, some really fantastic work for him, which is training upcoming college guys and NBA guys as well. And so Drew, at the time I was in between, I had done an internship with the Warriors, and I was done with that, and I was kind of, trying to figure out what was next for me. And Drew was, hey, this is, what we're doing. We're looking to, kind of make it something where every year we have a class of guys and guys who come and help, kind of facilitate. And it was just one of those things where it lined up perfectly. So
yeah.
I'm glad it happened, and along the way, you meet. That's why I love basketball so much. And I'm sure, hopefully, we get to get into this a little bit later, but that's the power of basketball to me, is the relationships you get to build and the people it brings into your life. So,
no doubt. Now, you said that you met Drew while you were at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So take us a little bit through your playing career. You got done when did you get done playing?
2013.
Okay.
Is when I was finished.
So you grew up in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
H-Town.
Yep.
All right.
Stay down.
Take us through that.
Man, so it's crazy. I'm not the type of person. I've never really been the type of person to be nostalgic and to look back at certain things. But I recently got reminded that I played on the #1 team in high school in the country when I was in high school.
Word.
And Tim Frazier, who's still in the NBA,
Yeah.
Tim. So Tim Frazier was my high school point guard. He went on to play at Penn State, had a couple knee injuries at Penn State. Actually had a knee injury in high school, which was why he was a little under recruited. Always a dog.
Yeah.
Tim was the man. But on our high school team, it was he and I. We had a couple other guys who went and played Division I. We ended up being 36. We were 36-0 at one point, and went to state and lost in the state finals.
Oh man.
So we ended up, obviously not getting state, but it was the first time our high school had ever been to the state tournament. It was the first time any private school, because we were a private school, but we played in the highest public league.
Right.
And so, we were top 5 in the country most of the season. Obviously, Tim is still in the NBA,
right.
Enjoying a lucrative career and
right.
really doing some great things. I love that dude. Very proud of him. Shout out to Tim.
Yeah.
And a bunch of our guys, went to, one of them played Harvard.
Yeah.
Played football at Harvard. A few other guys played lower Division I. But we had a really good team, man, and that's a great memory that I don't really give enough credit to.
Yeah.
Because it's it's something that you only get to experience one time. So, straight Jesuit high school, class of 2009. We were #1 team in the country. Ended up going from there to Notre Dame,
right?
Where I played for Coach Bray. Coach Mike Bray. Shout out Coach Mike Bray. I love him. He's my guy. Still to this day, looks out for me, takes care of me.
Yeah.
And we had some great teams there. We were my sophomore year. We were #2 seed in the tournament. We should have made a run. We should have been gone a little bit deeper, but we ended up getting bounced in the second round to Florida State. I played with some really, really, really talented players, which is still to this day. I mean, I was a good player. I wasn't great. I was an average player.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things about my journey, and this is something I think young players, I really try to impress this upon young players, is like, it's okay not to be the best player.
Yeah.
It's okay to have guys that are more talented than you, who are, you know what I mean? That, like, wanting to be the best player, it's like almost wanting to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't always want to be the smartest guy in the room. You very rarely do, right? You always want smarter.
If you want to get better.
If you want to get better.
Right?
Right.
There's a
right.
lot of guys that want to be the smartest guy in the room because it makes them feel great.
Exactly.
Right? So the same thing with being like the best player on the team or in the room. It makes you feel like you're really the man, but in actuality, you should probably surround yourself with better players to get yourself better.
No question. No question. And I think that a lot of times if you look at, sort of the downfall of a lot of young players, I think, is, you're in a smaller town, you're in a smaller, city, or maybe not a big city where there's a lot of talent, and you're the best guy in the class, or you're the best guy your year, and you've always been the best guy, and then you kind of go into a bigger pool, and you're, a good player, but you're not the best player.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or
Right.
you're a talented player, but you're not the most talented player. And that can be really hard for a lot of guys to accept.
Sure. So how did you adjust with that?
Well, it was one of those things. I was never a selfish guy, but with a certain mentality. I gave you the high school sort of background.
Sure.
And I averaged 25 points on the number one team. Number
Right,
one
right.
team in the country. So that there's a part of it that's like you have ego.
Right.
But I was not a selfish guy.
Yeah.
I was very proud. I was proud in the work I put in. I was proud of the player I'd become. But when I went to Notre Dame and I saw like, wow, man, like Ben Hansbrough, Luke Herringody,
Right.
who was a two-time All-American when I played with him my freshman year, Jaren Grant, who ended up being a first-round draft pick, Pat Connaughton, who was a second-round draft pick, Zach August, who played had a shot playing in the NBA, making a lot of money over in Europe. These are all guys that. Most of those guys were playing my position, wing.
Right.
So for me, it was one of those things where, looking back, I'm able to say like, I played and I competed at the highest level.
Right.
But I also, I played with some pretty good players.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So I have no shame in telling guys, I was an average player, but I accepted that because I understood, that there were some really talented, really good players around me, and
Yeah.
for us to be the best team that I could be, I think, you see this. I see it even from a different standpoint now, at Purdue. For us to be the best team that we could be, it took people accepting your role and really not only accepting it, but like loving it, and enjoying it, and taking pride in it.
Yeah.
That crosses over into so many different areas. Of life.
Sure. All right. So what in your playing career, what were some of the obstacles, or like, do you have like a favorite failure or something where it was just really challenging, you had to get over it, around it, or through it, and how'd you do it?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I remember the game. I remember the moment. I remember the point in time. And it was my sophomore year. My junior year. We were in Kansas City, and we played Missouri. You remember that team Missouri had with Kim English.
Oh, yeah.
And Pressey.
Yeah.
And Oriaki, and they were really good.
They were really
They
good.
were really good, and they smoked us. They were just a well-oiled machine at that point. They had all been playing together for a couple of years. Mike Dixon, who's a good friend of mine, you remember Mike?
Yeah.
And so we played them my junior year, and I played a little bit, didn't really play, and I had worked so hard. This was early in the season. This was actually a Thanksgiving tournament. Now I think about it. And it was early in the season, and I worked so hard all summer, and I was like, I had built it up in my mind, and I just didn't play. And it was at that moment I was really like kind of broken.
Yeah.
And so I went back behind the arena, and I just started bawling, just started crying.
Yeah.
And was very upset, and was just like, it was a lot of weight on me. My family was there, and I had put a lot of, pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And at that moment, there was this lady, and I still think, to this day, I don't know who the lady was.
Yeah.
I'm not joking to you. I swear she was a guardian angel of
Yeah.
mine. Because I don't know if I go back to the arena, I'm sure I could find her, but so at that very moment, she saw me upset, she saw me crying, and she worked at the arena. She was an arena worker, so she came by me and she just grabbed my two hands and she said, "It's okay, baby. I'm gonna pray for you." And so she just, like, for that quick moment, she just said a little prayer with me, and it was one of those things where I was like, I always remember that as like a turning point of like. There's like there's always going to be something that you don't have,
Right.
or something that you're not good at, or
Right.
something that you're not going to be the prettiest girl in the room, or
Right.
the best looking guy in the room, or
Right.
you're not always going to have the most money. But one of the things we can always do is truly appreciate all the many blessings and all the great things that we do have.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you look at the things that you don't have,
Yeah.
you lose sight of how wonderful and how blessed and how fortunate you are, you know, in so many other areas.
Right.
And so at that moment, I started to shift, and it's still something I do today, where I have my alarms that are, you know, when my alarm goes off in the morning, it's thankful. I'm thankful, like thanking God for this day.
Right.
Being happy for the day.
Right.
And that's something that I guess, like, you know, I don't want to call it rock bottom, because that's not what it
Right.
was. But for a young person, it was just one of those moments where I started to shift how I looked at my situation,
Yeah.
how I looked at, you know, my life, and the things that I, you know, sort of emphasized. And I stopped looking at what I didn't have, and I was more appreciative of all of the amazing blessings that God has put in my life.
And that's a big thing, man, because especially in our day and age now, like we've got these things in front of our face, and to me, social media is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Social media is neutral, right? It
can be a bad thing, right?
Well, right, but so can anything else. Like in my mind, money is neutral.
Yeah.
Like money, like if it's used in the wrong way, it can be of bad service,
Yes.
but it can also be of great service used in the right way.
Absolutely.
Same thing with social media, but a lot of times what we do is we get social media and we're just comparing ourselves all day long to everybody else's highlights. And if we don't have the mindset of we're going to be thankful for what we have, just like you were talking about, like what can I wake up today and be thankful for? Like when we get that in our minds, like it helps us stay a little bit more centered, a little bit more grounded, and not comparing ourselves all day.
Yes, no question. And that's actually something in my role at Purdue that I talk to our guys about.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad you said that, because that to me is like an ideal that like changed my life.
Yeah.
When I stopped comparing myself to other people, like, oh man, well this person's doing this or this person's doing that, and like it literally it actively takes you away from your like being present.
Yeah.
This is what I tell our guys. Be present. Be present in the moment. Understand and appreciate all of, like, you've got a great, like, literally, I started from the basics. Man, I'm so happy to have 2 working legs today.
Yeah.
I can walk to anywhere I want to get to.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so happy where I have enough money in my pocket where if I'm hungry, if I need, some shoes or some clothes or something to put on my body, I have enough money in my pocket for that to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's a tremendous point.
Right.
That's sort of a branch.
Well,
of it,
yeah. Well, I mean, and then, you're finding yourself, you get out of college, and as an athlete, when you get out of college and you're not going professionally, like that's a weird place to be. That's a weird limbo. If you don't know that you're going right into coaching, or you don't know what your next step is right away.
Right.
And so for the next few years, a lot of times you're doing something that's entry level, right? Whether you jumped into the business world or you're in basketball, it's still entry level. And there's such that temptation. You look at the guy, down the row, you say, I want what he's doing. I want what he's doing. And if we aren't present and we don't just live in the moment, we won't be our best in the moment. And if we won't be our best in our moment, then we can't work up to the thing that we actually want to be.
Right.
So, I appreciate you bringing that up, man, because I think that's huge. And you talked a little bit before about how your faith and the faith of your family helped you through some of the things, like as you got into college, like now, like the family ain't there, like you've got freedom, you've got what was college life like in South Bend? Like you walk on campus freshman year,
right? So I come from, I went to private Catholic high school or school my entire life,
right?
Which is, something that is not lost on me.
Right.
Fortunately, I had basketball, which brought me into or tapped me into a world where I was able to see every single day my teammates and sleep over at their houses and, sort of have that like dual appreciation for, wow, my parents have really blessed me. But there are also people who, aren't as fortunate as I am.
Right.
To have 2-parent households, or to have, people picking them up from school, or to have people packing them lunches every single day. And so when I got kind of taken out of, my home environment, I still had that foundation with me, in me. And obviously Notre Dame is one of the most, faith-oriented universities in our country,
Right.
So that didn't hurt, obviously, having people
Sure.
with similar faith. close by, or people, people that believed close by. But it was also just, I think, coming to the understanding that, like, all the things that had built up, or, that had been instilled in me up to this point, were things that I needed at that moment.
Right.
And whether I knew it or didn't know it, it ended up, being that way. And so, I mean, that's something that I, can only thank my parents for. They're actually going to be here this weekend.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll make
I
sure
dig it.
Tell them that story and share it with them.
Yeah. Right. So, all right. So when you get into college, did you go off the map? Did you do anything? You know, like
I did.
And so how did that incorporate into what you believe, and like maybe how you struggled a little bit there, or like finding your identity? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. For sure. And to be honest, I definitely strayed. It was the first time when I had, honestly, I did not drink alcohol, or, I didn't, even touch alcohol in high school.
Yeah.
Wasn't even really on the map for me.
Right.
Even though some guys that, some people in my friend groups did, I just didn't, it just wasn't something for me.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I went to college, it was the first time, alcohol became to be,
right,
a consistent part of
right,
my social life. Obviously, women, and sort of the influx of sport plus social aspects.
Yeah.
And, being on your own for the first time.
Right.
So all those things sort of culminated, and it definitely led me away from center.
Sure.
From home.
Sure.
And that culminated in a lot of different things. Depression from just wondering, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why am I feeling this way?
Right.
Alienation from, like, my friends,
Yeah.
and from, like, my family,
Yeah.
and not talking to people who, for years I had gone every single day talking to.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was a weird funk for me.
Yeah.
Where basketball used to be an outlet for me, it was no longer so.
Right.
Because of all the other components.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us struggle that have grown up in some sort of faith system, like when we get our freedom, if you will, and we get exposed to other things, and we start to experiment with some stuff. A lot of times we feel like, if we feel like we've stepped out of the boundaries, that we've disappointed people, or that we there's like we've messed up to the point where we feel a little bit of shame, or we feel some depression, or we feel something that really pulls us away. And I experienced some of that in college too, to the point where, like, if I didn't have the foundation that God loves me no matter what, like, does he want me to be living that way? Maybe not. But does he love me still? Yes. And, like, to understand that, if I could go back and tell myself that, or even if I could go back and tell you that, that would probably be something that I want to tell you, of, like, that doesn't change God's view on you, you know?
Right.
And it's a hard thing for us to navigate when you're still that young, because we can look back on it now and be like, okay, well, I needed to come through that because it's helped develop my faith.
No question.
Right?
No question.
And so how being there in college, and then being where you are now, like, what do you feel like God is showing you or teaching you, or like what do you feel like he's moving in you now?
Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, God has shown me, and this is what I tell people all the time. I don't have a ton of money. I'm not, a million people don't follow me on any social media platform. There's a lot of things that, I do not have, but I am rich beyond belief. I'm wealthy beyond belief in the people and the resources of, like, the community that God has put into my life.
Yeah.
That God has allowed me to have access to, the relationships that I've built, and all the special people who really, and I can, from the lady at the arena who I don't even know her name, right, to my parents, and there's so many people in between. I'll give you another example. While I was at Notre Dame, LaFonso Ellis, who is a God-fearing man, one of the greatest people I've truly ever been around or ever been able to learn from, or I consider him a mentor of mine. LaFonso Ellis, while I was at Notre Dame, pulled me aside, and he was just talking to me about, it wasn't about X's and O's, it wasn't about recruiting or anything like that. He pulled me aside and he's like, brother, you need to be more in tune with your day-to-day journey
Yeah.
with God,
Yeah.
journey with your faith. And so he bought me and wrote me a little note. I still remember it. It's a devotional, a daily
Yeah.
devotional. You know those Sarah Young
Yeah,
daily
yeah.
devotionals?
Jesus is calling.
Jesus is
Yeah.
calling. He bought me one of those and wrote me a note in it. And I used it for 2 straight years. I mean, I know it's supposed to be like a yearly
Right,
thing,
right.
but I used it for 2 straight years just
Right.
because it was so good.
Yeah.
And I would wake up and I would just read, the thing for the day, take a few notes on it, and that's how I would start my day.
Yeah.
And people like LaFonso
Yeah.
are truly why I'm rich beyond belief, and why I'm so,
Yeah.
I have so many things to be thankful for, is because God has put tremendous people in my life.
No doubt. And so for you coaches that are listening to this, or you like the guys that are in a place of influence that somebody may call you a mentor, like LaFonso Ellis, gave a devotional to you, didn't know that was going to be part of your daily routine for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that it was it may be something that impacted you,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's important for us, if we've been through something, we could be a mentor to somebody. Regardless of what your age is, there's something that you can do for somebody else.
Yes.
And if somebody else has been good to you, then it's part of the process for us to pass that along to somebody who else we see is in need or needs a lift up.
This is an idea that I think is central to being a believer, being someone who is led by God, led by Christ.
Yeah.
Is being a stewardship of His resources.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I talk to my friends about this. Is sometimes I feel like, even if it's the old parable of, if I give you 3 talents and you put all 3 to work and you get the most out of, and you do the best that you can with those 3 talents, God is it's one of those things where He's asking us to be a steward of His riches.
Sure.
And those riches come in many different forms.
Sure.
Now, knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
can be a steward of His riches by teaching someone, an X and an O.
Right.
Or talking to a young man about, how to build his career after basketball.
Right.
Or how to network and build certain things. So there's so many ways, and we tend to only think about, being a steward is either donating our time, going to a soup kitchen, or donating some money.
Right.
You can donate an idea. You know what I mean? You can go to a local school and donate your experience to, young people who are looking to, for guidance, or looking for, different things. So, coaches, people listening, I mean, don't be afraid to just do a 360.
Right.
See who's around you.
Right.
Pick someone up.
Right.
Teach them something that you learned. You know what I mean? Ask a question, or learn more about their family. All those things go into, go ahead.
But you can't do that if you're stuck on yourself.
Right.
And see, that's the thing. It's like, we are certainly inundated in a culture that says, just look out for you. Do you, look out for you. Whatever you need to do to get to the top, just kind of do you. Well, that's not the community that God set up. Like, God tells us to look out for your brother. Like, and so whatever form that takes, that might be your basketball team, it might be people in your classroom, it might be people in the business office, it might be whatever, but we have to get outside of ourselves in order to do that part of following God and honoring God effectively.
Yes, no question.
And so, all right, so if I could pass it to you, is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
Yeah, definitely, man. One of the things that really impressed me, and that just stuck with me from when we first met, was how I felt a strong, almost like an aura of, I don't want to make it too faith oriented, but it definitely is. When I met you, there's an energy, there's an aura, there's like something around you where I was drawn to. We were working with basketball, but it was like, man, I like this dude. I really like. I'm like, almost feel like I want to be invested in this dude's journey and learning about your kids. I learned about your kids, learned about your wife. I learned about kind of all the things that went into making you who you are. And to me, that was something that really that's what I wanted to really build a relationship.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, what is the driving force that gives you that spirit that you have that radiates off of you in everything that you do? Your basketball, I know you do like a Bible study type deal.
Yeah.
So it comes across. So what is that? What's the roots of that?
Well, just in case you're not watching on YouTube, I don't have a power necklace that has an aura or an energy that comes out of it. So I appreciate those kind words, man. And I think, I'm 36 years into this life. I've been through ups and downs, and I think there's been times where I've been focused on myself a lot, and to the point where I haven't allowed God to really move in me. And then there's been times where he's and really what he's getting me focused on more so now than ever, now that I'm a husband and a father and a coach and a trainer and I run business. I've got a lot of things that have nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with who I'm with. And so if I'm focused on me as a father, I'm not, just as a person, if I'm focused on me, I'm not going to be a great dad for my kids. If I'm focused on me with my wife, I'm not going to be a great husband. And look, I've been focused on me, and she has let me know it, brother. And I'm so glad that she is who she is, because she helps me be a better husband. But and same thing as a player, if I'm just focused on me as a player, I can't be a good player for my group, right? Or my team or my organization or whatever. So I think God I've asked him to. I've prayed a lot of him to just move in me and to remove my agenda, and for him to just keep putting in me what he desires of me. And so I hope that's what, the energy that people feel is that's God's love moving in me. And I'm hopefully not so worried about myself that I can love on other people. And that love to me doesn't come over through just a mushy gushy kind of way. It's just like caring about people and interested in who they are and what their life is. Definitely. And to me, that's how you build genuine relationships,
Man, that is, I didn't know I was getting to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't believe that I hadn't, mentioned being led by love, before you did, but that I'm absolutely glad you did. Shameless plug for my social media.
Yeah.
Jay Brooks Loves You.
Yeah.
Came from, which is, what I am on Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
Right.
Jay Brooks Loves You came from that idea of, man, I just want to pick people up. I just want to be someone who shows people love.
Right.
And that's a hashtag I always use, is spread love.
Right.
And I think, like you said, it doesn't always have to be lovey-dovey, kiss,
Yeah.
It can be a brotherly love. It
Absolutely.
Can be a love for a son. It can be a love for a mom. It
Right.
can be, the love for, a young player who is just looking for a couple drills or looking for something. So being led by that, I think, that's obviously the answer. You know what I mean? That's obviously why you,
Well, because too, to me, love encompasses some of the difficult. Love encompasses truth.
Right.
If you will be honest and truthful with the people around you, that's not easy.
Yes.
A lot of us can hide enough of the stuff we don't want people to see. And so when you do that, when you hide stuff, you're operating out of fear. You're not operating out of love. And so when you can get away from that and you can be like, hey, this is me, good or bad, take it or leave it. This is what I am. And so what God has done in me is helped me to see too, hey, I'm broken just like anybody else, and I don't need to hide that. Right. And it's funny, some of the best relationships that you develop come through brokenness, come through an understanding of man,
so true.
We're all kind of messed up.
So true.
But God loves us regardless, and he wants his love to be what unites us, Right. So, no, I didn't know I was going to be unpacking that either, man.
No, man.
So your time at Purdue right now, what are you learning? Coach Painter is a phenomenal coach.
Coach Painter.
Coach
Painter's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He actually just walked by a little while ago.
Okay.
He is, to me, one of the things that I learned from George Raveling, who I call and talk to. One of the things Coach Rav always talks about is be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And so since my time being at Purdue, there hasn't been a day that's gone by where I haven't learned one thing from Coach Painter.
Yeah.
And I'm a note taker, so like sometimes it's a quote from him. Sometimes like he's a funny dude. He's a really, really funny dude. A lot of people probably wouldn't, know that or gather that just from. He's really intense. He's really detail oriented. He's really on top of his teams and on top of his staff, and he expects a certain level of play, a certain level of effort, a certain level of attentiveness and IQ. And so all those things culminate in a really intense focus. But man, is he a funny dude?
Right.
And it's been a great opportunity for me because, so going back to last year, we had an older team, 4 seniors: Dakota Mathias, P.J. Thompson, Isaac Haas, and Vince Edwards, who Vince ended up getting drafted, playing for the Rockets now. PJ's in Denmark, Isaac's in the G League with the Jazz, and Dakota's in Spain playing in the ACB.
Right.
And so from one year to the next, it's amazing how your job changes as a coach. We've got a younger team this year. We've got a guy who's preseason National Player of the Year, preseason All-American, first-team All-American, preseason Big Ten Player of the Year, kind of every accolade that you could achieve preseason. Kid's from Houston, so
H-Town.
He's a guy. H-Town, stay down. He's a guy who I'm invested in, but it goes back to kind of the central theme, which is being led by love. And I think in my first experience as a coach, because this is my first experience in a real coaching role.
Sure.
When I did an internship, but it was less. It was more. This is more day to day in the trenches with the guys, and before you can talk to a guy about a certain cut or a certain read or whatever it is, they have to understand and know that you care about them.
Yeah.
They have to understand and know and feel deep down that I have and want the best for them.
Right.
Coach Painter does a great job of communicating that, and I think in everything that I do with our guys, I try to let that be the foundation.
Yeah.
We go out for breakfast and we just talk about life.
Yeah.
We talk about what girls they're talking to, how mom is, how what they're doing in class, what the challenges are, and we just talk about life. And to me, that breaks down every barrier that could ever be for when I have to jump them or have to get on them or have to correct some things. It just makes it a lot easier. So, and then obviously we have great guys who are smart, who are selfless, who love the game, who love to work. So it just makes my life that much more enjoyable.
Right. And for you to be able to get in this kind of setting so early in your career, like regardless of where you go from here, like these are fundamental things where, and to me, like a head coach has so much more of a job than just winning ball games, because he sets the tone altogether. He sets the tone for how the assistant coaches are going to be, how the GAs are going to be, how the managers are going to be, how the players are going to be, like sets the tone on what the culture of the program is going to be like. And it's such a challenge because, we have a lot of coaches who just want to care about winning first, right? And a lot of times you can tell with those programs because they're kind of a mess.
Right.
I'll be honest, I haven't heard anything bad about Purdue in terms of the organization, because it seems like Coach Painter sets that tone for caring about the guys, for doing things the right way, and investing in relationships.
He's a big Cubs fan, so he loves Joe Madden.
Okay.
And Joe Madden's all about the energy bus.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And the biggest part about the bus is not who drives it; it's who's on the bus.
Yeah.
Right. And so Coach Painter talks a lot about just getting the right people on the bus, getting the right people in the room, in the locker room, on our staff,
right,
in our program.
Yep.
And then from there, if you have the right people, if you have good people who are selfless, who are like we talked about, led by love, who are passionate about the game, intelligent, all of those things in one room. I mean, you're bound to, you're gonna take your losses, you're gonna take your lumps, but you're bound to see a sustainable level of success when you keep that group of people. And I think that's kind of more or less what I try to pass on to young people. The power of 5. You are going to be as successul as the 5 people that you keep around you, 5 people you talk to for no reason. You know what I mean? And I think my life has been, I'll go back and thank God and be really, really, really humbled by being able to have and say I've had such great people around me, such a great tribe around me. And hopefully that's something that I can pay forward, as I continue to grow in my career. So.
Absolutely. All right, so audience, we're going to throw it back at you. All right. So who are the people that are? Who's your tribe? Who are the 5 that you're around? Do you need to make some cuts? Do you need to get rid of some of those people that might be actually pulling you back? And do you need to invest more time with some of those people that are going somewhere and that push you to be better? And then a couple of things that Joey said that I kind of want to follow up on too are that it seemed like his faith would really come back and ground him again. Like when things were going astray, or things were really good, or things were not so great, it's like faith was the thing that kept, like, the fundamental thing that kept him going. So my question to you guys is how much are you pouring into your faith? How much are you pouring into, being able to lead with love? That's something that Joey just kept saying. To be able to lead with love, it's not easy to do. Like, and to do it in the right way. So, I mean, Joey, how you said it before, but how can our audience connect with you if they want to, follow you, if they want to be, led with some love?
So
how can they connect with you?
On anything and everything?
Yeah.
Jay Brooks Loves You. JBROOKS LOVESU. And yeah, I mean, I nothing I post, I try to do my best about posting, being the real me.
Yeah.
In season, I don't get to post that much.
Sure.
Because we're grinding.
Right.
But it's something where I try to show a little snapshot of my day and what I'm passionate about, what I love, and hopefully spread a little light, spread a little love to those around me.
I dig it. And Purdue Boilermakers, follow the Purdue Boilermakers this year. They're sure to have a good season. And we'd love to hear from you guys. If you if you got some questions, or you were feeling this podcast, this episode with Mr. Brooks, please share it with your friends. And Joey is great, man.
Absolutely.
Great having
Love
you
you,
on, my
yes,
brother.
Love you, man.
No doubt.
So thankful for you, and really thankful for you having me on. But more than anything, when I heard I was going to be here, I kind of strong-armed you. I was like, man, I got to get on the podcast. So.
We got to make it happen.
Yeah, no question, man.
No
Thank
doubt.
you. Appreciate you having me.
All right.
Nick, thank you too, brother.
Yeah, hold it down. We're out.